allies. So now we are live, Nelia. Well, Nelia, we're back here. We're having
We're back. We're back.
the computer trying to not get us on today, but we're here. And if you're from Jamaica, anybody's watching, happy Independence Day. So Nelia, this is Jamaican Independence Day. And as you know, we had our first Emancipation Day, what you call that, reflection or acknowledgement? What's the right word?
Absolutely. It's just it is. It's an acknowledgement and awareness, and just for us to remember and
Yes.
to honor and respect what slavery and the Abolition Act of ending slavery
Yes.
in British colonies. And so
Yes.
back in 1933, it came into effect. Into 1934 was the first Emancipation Day. And look how long it took. 2021 is when our federal government made it an official day of recognition and acknowledgement of slavery.
Wow. Well, that's what we're here for today, right?
That's right.
I'm streaming through the Facebook of my business page because for some reason today, my StreamYard was not recognizing my personal page or the page of the Aurora Black community. So the more the merrier. And you know what I love about the opportunity to even still stream and have this to the community of my clients? For me, Nelly, I run every business as a community. I believe we are community first and we are people. And then you're serving. And
Absolutely.
so we can't separate that. So I'm honored to be here with you today to have this conversation. It is a conversation. So if you're going to be watching with us now or catching the replay, Nelia is going to introduce herself. She is the programmer and the chair of the Aurora Film Circuit. I am Fiona, the owner of Coconut Village, the president and chair of the Aurora Black Community Association. And I just want to, and as a community person, we just really want to sit today and have the conversation about this movie that we watched. So we're going to talk about Small Acts. It's a series movie, and we're looking at, was it episode number 5, Nelia?
Correct. Yes.
Episode number 5 about education. So before we get into it, I just want to welcome you to this conversation. It is very important. Nelia, there's always this conversation that I say in everything that I said before. It's never too late and it's never too little. And we could not have enough communication or conversation around what it is to be a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And when we start to just see people and love people, we no longer have to try to separate and try to figure out who belongs where, because everybody wants to belong. Everybody want to feel loud, heard, understood, listened to.
Everybody wants to be seen.
Seen, exactly.
Everybody wants to be seen.
So Nelia, introduce yourself, please.
So I am, my name is Nelia Pacheco. I've lived in Aurora for just close to over 20 years. And I am the chair and programmer for the Aurora Film Circuit, and we have been around since 2006. We are a not-for-profit organization. We're 5 volunteers, and our whole objective is to change how you see the world through film. So we program films throughout the year, non-COVID years, unfortunately, with all the restrictions. And we just take an opportunity to bring and program independent and international and Canadian films. So it's an opportunity for us to educate, bring awareness, bring culture, bring art. As we all know, many artists, what they do is often a reflection of our times, of what's happening in our world, in our society, and that's what we try to achieve with the Aurora Film Circuit. And one thing I'm very, very proud of, any profits we make all go back into our community. We've
Yes.
been a huge supporter of the Aurora of the library, the Aurora Library, and
Hmm.
one of the nice things and one of the great the partnerships with it is they actually use a lot of our donations to purchase the films that we have programmed. So to
Amazing.
bring even a further awareness. So if people would like to, if they've missed the screening, then they can always take it out from the library and see it at home.
Amazing. Well, welcome, Nelia.
Thank you, and
I,
thank you for
I
having me.
Yeah, and just to give people a history about what we are and how we got about this, when we created the Aurora Black community, which is a place for everybody, as long as you're a person that want to see unity and community and growth, it is a place for everyone. And so when we did that, the intention behind it was how do we bring more awareness and education, but making it very easy for people to be a part of. And I know I don't like to read big long books. I'm a binge reader. I would get a book and it's constant reading through it forever. So I love movies and I thought it would be easier, less expensive. So I thought, why not have like a movie club,
That's
where
great.
we take a movie, let's discuss it, let's talk about it and see how we see ourselves in it. How is that movie affecting our community today? And all those good stuff. So if you're coming on, welcome. We're happy to have you. Ask if anything you hear we speak of and you want a question, ask question, please post them in the comments and we'll respond to you as quickly as we can. Even if when you catch the replay, we can respond later. But when we did this, then right away, Sandra Humphrey says, Fiona, I know the best person for you. And that's how it's introduced to Nelia. You're filled with passion. And that's what I love. It's very hard to work with people that you have to pump up or convince to be joyful and passionate. And so you're naturally passionate, Nelia, and I appreciate your authentic voice.
Thank you.
You're a
Thank you.
genuine ally. You don't try to sugarcoat something to look cute or to make it sound good. So this is why I love talking about these movies with you, with the community, to bring more awareness, to keep educating ourselves, and to give us an opportunity to talk because we still get so uncomfortable to talk. So tell us about this movie that we're talking about tonight, Nelia.
Oh, well, this movie is, how, as Fiona said, and I so appreciate that she always lets me talk about film, as she says, because I am very passionate. First and foremost, when it comes to film, I always like to let people know that when I watch a film, it's very rarely about the film itself. I love understanding why a film is being made, understand why a director has chosen to do this, what it represents for them, what's
Hmm.
their message that's coming across. And very often you get so much insight on what they did and what they had to conquer in order to produce the film.
Amazing.
And that's where it gets me excited, and I like to do research. One, the director Steve McQueen, he's one of my favorites. I
Hmm.
have been, and I follow him pretty closely. And I had read a couple of years ago he was working on this anthology called Small Acts.
Okay.
And what it was, it's 5 films. It's part of this anthology, and each one it's its own piece. You don't have to see all 5
That's
films.
right.
They don't interlock, but they're just
I'm still
based
not
on
finished watching yet.
no.
I still only watch the series that we're
Still,
talking about. Yes.
yeah, and so this particular one is the last one. It's the 5th episode, and it's called Education. And the
Can I
beauty of
do a
all,
quick clip on it for you?
yeah, that'd be a great introduction.
Let's do
Absolutely,
that. Let me do
absolutely. Let's do
if I
that.
can share a clip.
They say our children are too loud, too slow, or too lively. The school system has a policy of targeting our children. There is a deeply rooted cultural bias. As a collective, we stand a chance.
We are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down.
That was good. I hope everybody saw that. So that's just a clip of just this series, the episode 5 that we're talking about today. You can get the whole series on Netflix. No, it's not a
No,
Netflix.
it's on Prime. Prime,
On
yeah.
Prime. So if you have
Yes.
Amazon Prime,
Amazon
it is
Prime.
great. If you need
Yes.
to borrow my Amazon Prime login, let me know. But I think it is an amazing, amazing movie. So Nelia, go right ahead.
Yeah, and so again, so the fifth episode is about education, and as a whole, I just like to represent like Steve McQueen when he was putting this series together. It's almost like a love letter
Hmm.
to the Caribbean community, the West Indian community that immigrated to England, into London, into the surrounding area post World War II. So in the 70s, and what he's done is he's made these great 5 films, all individually, and they're all based on true stories and
Hmm.
experiences of his community, of the West Indian community and their struggles and how they could assimilate and just become part of the community. And
Awesome.
education, and why education is so important. It's also one of the it's probably the most personal film out of the 5 because he
Hmm.
relates it to himself. And
Yeah.
what it is about, it's about a just a systemic issue when it came to the West Indian children in the classrooms, where they started to get labeled as loud or disruptive, or they couldn't focus. Their learning, their development was behind other children. And
Mhm.
how it was ended up being presented was that overall there were studies done and that those grades were bringing down the reputation of the schools where the West Indian children were attending. So there was what they started to do was kind of streamline them into different schools that they labeled as subnormal schools. So it was for children that they deemed were destructive or not able to focus, and it just kind of was this automatic, and they were put into these subnormal schools, and that
Mhm.
kind of changes the whole your whole your future, how you
Yes.
see yourself as a young person. And
Yes.
through this film, and our main character, his name is Kinsley, and he's 11-year-old boy, loves astrology, is smart, and just wants to, but he's just lacking a little bit behind.
Yes.
He may need a little more attention, but that's not offered to him. He's
Yes.
already, he's referred to as a blockhead. He's struggling to read, so they ostracize him in the class. You see it with the teachers.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
then what happens, and then you have his parents, who are, again, immigrants to the country, struggling, trying to focus, trying to fit in, looking for survival. So, so having a child, so they have 2 children, a daughter who's older,
Mhm.
who's, good grades, does everything right. And then there's Kinsley, her little brother, who is just struggling. And the parents are being called into the school. So it's an automatic. So there's
So
a, Mhm.
I will interrupt you there for a minute
Sure,
now.
of
Yeah,
course.
when I was watching the movie, I remember when I came to Canada, I was 18. I think I was telling you before that we had to go. I don't know if they still do it, and I actually will be calling the school board to find out if they still do it. Coming from Jamaica, because I know this movie is based on immigrants from the Caribbean. And
Yes.
so coming from Jamaica, I was sent to, or my sister and I think it was 3 of us came, we were sent to a different place over by Dufferin or wherever that is to go do a test to check our English. Just, and I thought, we're coming from an English speaking
That's
country,
right. That's right.
for
That's
me,
right. That's
right?
right.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
already you felt different because you have an accent, you're nervous, and everything you say just sound wrong. So
Yes.
and that was just till 1998. So I
Hmm.
can imagine how terrifying it is in the 70s when because this movie is about from the 70s.
That's right. That's
Happened
right.
in the 70s. So
That's
I can
right.
imagine how it was there. The 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 piece that and you can remember where you're going to start from, but the piece that really grabbed my heart was the mom wasn't a single mom. She has her husband, but sometimes even though you're in a
No,
you're
but he's not present. He's
he's
not. He's not present. That's right.
no.
That's
And
right.
then when he woke her up, when she tried to wake him up to talk about the issue that it's children, he just yelled at her, slammed, and left the room,
Yes.
and to tell her to leave it alone.
Yes.
Why do you think you did that?
I really go back, and as I've shared with you too, and why this movie spoke to me. And again, I'm an immigrant to this country. Yes, I've been here for many decades, but that experience has stayed with me from a very, very young person. And I think, and when I think about it and I look at my parents, it was all about surviving and fitting in.
Mhm.
So, we're not, as children, we're not thinking about our parents and what they've gone through. They've
Mhm.
left family behind. They've left the life they knew. They left the country, the
Mhm.
language, the food, all of that behind to
Mhm.
provide a better life for their children.
Yeah.
But when you get here and you're just trying to fit in and you're just trying to survive, and as you said, the mother has two jobs, the father has a job, and it's all about that. And we see it in the film when the mother is so impatient with her child, and she spanks him, and the frustration that she has to be late for work because she's being called into the school to have that discussion and with the principal or the headmaster, and on top of it she has to sit there and have this person speak down to her and how condescending, and present it like he's doing them a favor.
Yes, yes. So Nelia, the question is, where do you think, because I know we're still parenting like that today.
Yes,
In some families, they're still parenting like that today, where we are so frustrated, we're so burnt out, and we're so busy staying above float that we don't listen to our children.
that's right. That's right.
He said to the child, "You are a kid, you don't know anything."
That's right.
I don't remember if that's exactly how she said it. She said, "What do you know?
It's
You
just that
don't
we're not worried about Kinsley. He's a child. What does he know? What does he
know."
have to be worried about?
And that was very sad because,
Yes,
but then when you look at the mom side, if I want to take, back home, we said we're going to take up for her, meaning speak on her behalf. She's probably struggling financially, rushing to go to work, not wanting to miss job, not wanting to get fired. Child, I'm going to slap you into next year, so you better behave at school so the teacher doesn't call me and waste my time in the office.
that's right.
That, where do you think we are at now? Do you think as parents we're listening to our children better?
Yeah, that's a really hard one. I've always tried to, because and even just sharing my experience, and I now, probably until I was in my early, maybe late 20s, I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
what my parents had gone through, or,
Mm-hmm.
or their experience, because why would they share it with their child,
Yes. Yes.
right? I mean, that's the parents. Our tendency is to protect our children,
Yes.
right? So at what point do we start trying to kind of ease them into the reality of what the world is, right? And sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad, and sometimes it's ugly, and all that. And so I think we have a responsibility as parents to educate our children. And my philosophy, I have two children, they're now young adults, was
Mm-hmm.
always to educate them at the age appropriate, using language and situations that they could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, you sit at the dinner table and your children are talking about, fights with their friends, and you're thinking about, how am I going to pay
Yes.
next month's mortgage or
Yes.
next month's
Yeah.
rent, and
Yeah.
all that. And it's so, and we kind of tune it out, right? And that importance, because whatever's happening in your child's life, it's so important. It's just as important as, how am I going to pay the rent next month in their eyes, right?
Yes.
And their world of 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds and
Yes.
11-year-olds, when their friends stop speaking to them, or they have a little bit of hardship or some challenges, right? But we minimize it because they're children. But
So,
that's the opportunity when we get to try to develop them, and
so
and listening.
yeah. So you're right. And so now I'm just hoping, because even during the pandemic of COVID, I'm hoping that it wasn't a negative effect on children, because a lot of times we were either, before COVID, we were too busy. So we
Mhm.
either pick up from school or pick up from daycare, we do dinner, and it's bedtime for tomorrow.
That's right.
During COVID, we were able to do school at home, and parent got to the opportunity to really parent. And so Les Brown is a great motivational speaker that I absolutely love. And Nelia, one of the things he says, you don't rise above low expectation. And,
That's right.
if you keep speaking to a person the way they are instead of what you expect them to become, they're going to become worse than
That's
what
right.
they think they are. Because that's what, if you say, that's what they said I think they said that in the movie as well.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
keep saying I'm a fool, before you know it, I'm acting the fool.
Right. And if we go back to the character Kinsley, like he couldn't fit in with who he was, right? Because he couldn't be heard. He tried. He tried over and over for his parents to see him and hear
Mm-hmm.
him. He tried
Mm-hmm.
with his sister. He tried with a few. He tried even, and no one listens. And
Mm-hmm.
so he does try. So what ends up happening, he's not being accepted for who he is. So now he's been put in a category that, you know what? He's being told over and over that he's not going to be successful. He's
Yeah.
not smart. We're going to find a trade for you so you can, learn with your hands, not use your brain. And, so of course, so he, as a child, as we most know, even adults, we just want to fit in.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's going to be much easier for him to fit in that world than it is going to be for him to have his authenticity and be heard.
And for Emancipation Day, and as we recognize that, one of the things I look at when I think of emancipation is I have to free my mind from how people see me or think about me. You liking me is a bonus. My goal is to be effective.
That's right.
So if you don't like me, it is not my goal to be liked, because that is a very hard standard to keep. Because today you like me, tomorrow I do something you don't like me. But my goal is to be effective. And so with Emancipation Day, how I celebrate and recognize that in my own life is I'm freeing myself of your thoughts, your opinions of me, because it doesn't matter, especially if they're negative, you know what I mean? Or it's not, we call it positive criticism,
That's right.
right? So, but now, and also a remind, it's one thing that slavery was abolished how many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Yeah,
another thing is where's our mind?
that's right. Have you freed yourself, right?
Have we freed
And yeah,
ourselves?
I mean, and we even talked about this, and I think about during Black History Month, right? Just because
Yeah.
someone says now
You're
slavery
free.
is abolished, no one woke up the next morning and said, "Oh, I'm
Everything is
not going to be racist. I'm not going to all that." And it's again, and it's a constant. And when you talk about emancipation and freedom, and again, it is a choice, right? I make a choice to educate myself, to have some awareness, to understand that I am a human being, as
yes,
we all are,
yes,
and I want the same for my children as you want for your children, and so on. And that's what needs to be focused on. And it's the same thing, having children in our school system. Yes, did I have throughout the years? Sure, but it was never, no one shut me out. I
mhm,
wasn't going to allow someone to speak down to my children or
mhm.
down to their parents in that sense, right? I mean, it's just there's a responsibility in our schools, and there's also a responsibility in our homes.
So I'm glad you said that. And there's a responsibility in our community. I love this thing that I hear growing up, and I live by it, Nelia. It takes a village.
Absolutely.
And when we say that, I think, Nelly, I want to look in this movie about how important is our voice, which is the only thing that we own. How important is your voice? How important is community? We looked in this movie and we saw one person came and say, "Hey, I heard this happening to your son. I hear this is happening in the school. We need to talk about it." She was in denial, not wanting to accept it, because already she knew in her heart that something was off. But because she's surviving from my interpretation of the movie and don't have the time to deal with this,
That's right.
pretend that it doesn't exist. And now when it comes to confront her face to face, she's now it's like, you know what? But she's hiding and reading the pamphlet because she
That's right.
really wants to know. So how as a community, I know in back home it was different. But even now, Jamaica is changing, where it's not as community from my eyes like it used to be,
To be.
where the next door person see the child on the street and they better get it together because
Yeah.
you know they
Mm-hmm.
are acting almost as a parent to you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
accountability, responsibility of our community. We watched the movie before called Miss Virginia, which is a movie that I adore and love because it shows the power of us taking initiative even when
Absolutely.
it's hard. Because
Yes.
change doesn't come because it's easy. because you're going to get the rejection.
Or we would all change if it was easy, because we all know right and wrong, right? But it's
Exactly.
change is one of the most difficult things to do as a human being, right?
It is. And so when I look at this movie and I look at Miss Virginia, the things I saw in common is women standing up and say, okay, enough is enough.
That's
You're
right.
This is not going to happen to my kid. I might be living in a poor community. I might not have enough, but I have one thing, and it's my voice
That's right.
and my determination
Yes.
to see my children excel and
Yeah.
have better. So,
Absolutely.
Nelia, speak on that for me about our
Well,
community.
the parallel in the two films, Miss Virginia and Education, it is really, and I think the heart of it is community,
Yes.
right? Because it really is. These are two women
Yes.
who, again, two jobs, struggling. One is a single mom, although one has a partner, but he's not plugged in. Again, he's just going through the motions of what has to happen, right?
Yes.
And and we don't know his backstory. We don't know why he behaves like
I
that.
was
But we all have a
assuming that
story.
he can't read either. And I
When
felt right when he asked the
Yes.
daughter to read it to him,
Yes,
I felt that he was pushing it away because he know that it's fear.
That's right.
He was not
That's
competent to
That's right.
address it. And so he goes to what was comfortable
right.
to him to just shut it down.
That's right. It was just like the mother. It's not her hostility, right? That's how it comes out. It's all based on fear, right?
Yeah.
When she's behaving to her son and disciplining him, right? It's not about it's just that she's got her own fears. And this is one that she just can't, right? She just can't. It's our to her, she looks the school. This is the school's kind of responsibility.
Yes.
Right? My responsibility is put a roof over our head, food
Mhm.
on the table. The school is supposed to take. But the beauty of Miss Virginia and Education, this film, is showing how a community makes that difference. It goes back down to what you said, to the village, right? It's not about, in both films, it is about politicians not doing the right thing,
Yes.
not advocating, not, or in the background. Even in
Yeah.
Miss Virginia, we saw, the person who ended up helping Miss Virginia didn't really want to be heard. He
No.
was in the background,
Yes.
right? Her ally, who she thought was an ally in politics, someone who looked like her, who thought
Yes.
had her back,
Yes.
who was going to help her and so on. It was just the complete opposite. She had her own agenda. It was in her benefit to repress and keep down the Black children in the Black community with education. And in this film, it's the same thing, right? The school system, right? I mean, we talk about the state of, the Secretary of State in Education. They say you can appeal the decision for him going to a subnormal school, kind of stuff. But who did he have to appeal to? At that point in time, Margaret Thatcher, right? And so what? So again, so you think about that, right? As an immigrant to the country, parents are just trying to fit in, and I'm going to write a letter to the state secretary, Margaret Thatcher, to look at my child's, and that's another part, because they even didn't allow her to even appeal. They didn't even let her know she could appeal the decision that was being made for her child. But but again, and going back to both films, grassroots. This is this community put themselves together. They went to their politicians. They went to their leaders. The leaders weren't interested. They're not interested. This problem is not theirs. It's your problem.
Nelia.
It's not.
Nelia, it's very unfortunate that as community, as residents of any community, that we've lost, we ignore, I'm going to say this as best way as I can. We ignore our responsibility and we say it belongs to our leaders.
That's right.
It's my mayor and it's my councilor's job.
That's right.
But we vote them in there.
That's right.
To also do some of the work that we know they have the power and the desire and should have the heart to do.
That's right.
But what I've observed is that it doesn't always work that way, because if their motives is wrong, nothing that we vote for or why we think we put them there will never come to fruition.
That's right.
And so we have to take back that power.
Absolutely.
To know that.
Absolutely.
It's our responsibility to, if we can't keep them accountable, we need to start getting to action.
That's right.
And it takes one.
That's right. And it does. Any movement
takes one.
Had to start somewhere.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
one showed up in Martin Luther King, anyone we look, and we've talked about this. You look at Gandhi, we look at people that we see as peaceful leaders in order to incorporate change, right? And to fight and recognize again, color, status, class, none of that is relevant, right? At the end of the day, as we've said a few times, we are all human beings who deserve to be recognized, to be seen, and to be heard. And that's what it's important as a community, as a parent, as just a human being, and it's just, again, it is our responsibility, if our leaders, even if we voted them in, that it is not to say, I can't make change. Of course you can.
You can.
Of course you
And
can.
and when I look at this, so recently I also want to add this to clarification that recently I was one of the original members of the Town of Aurora Anti-Racism Task Force. That task force, one of the terms of reference or a mandate was to really create strategies to dismantle racism in Aurora. But after sitting on it for a full term, nobody could provide me with the action plan of what's going to be done. All I've been told is wait, wait. We're new. Wait. And Nelia, I'm a gorgeous 41-year-old. I don't know. And I've been black for 41 years. I didn't think I changed color. So when you tell me to wait, I'm curious as to what we were waiting on.
Yeah.
What are
you waiting for?
Yes, I don't know. And I just think that we should be tired of being told, wait.
Absolutely.
So, but if you tell me what I'm waiting on, I'm okay waiting.
Right.
But for one, Black people didn't just exist yesterday. So you're not trying to figure out how to deal with it.
That's right.
For two, Aurora has been in existence for many years,
Right.
decades. And I've been running committees. So we know how a committee put together.
Yes.
We have leaders that have been in providing leadership to our town for decades as well.
Right.
So therefore, we have the resource. So
That's
when
right.
you tell me to wait, and when I speak up, you tell me to not speak.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to sign a paper to say, don't go to the counselors with any issue regarding to the task force, because other counselors want to see the task force fail. For me, that's already a red flag that we're not doing something right. Because
Wow.
we have to hash it all out and fix it.
Yes.
And if there's any of our leaders in our town that wants a task force to face, they should be called out.
That's right.
That's how
absolutely.
we fix things.
Absolutely.
So when you tell me to sign a document, you're going to create a different policy for the task force, that I shouldn't speak about it on Facebook, that I shouldn't share, that I should speak the same way you speak, then you're taking away what it means for me to be diverse.
Yeah, and your voice.
And my voice, because
Yes.
diversity, I think we are confusing diversity with putting a bunch of different color people in a group versus
and yes,
what it really is. Because in my opinion, diversity is an eclectic perspective,
absolutely.
different point of views, different viewpoints, different strategies coming
different
together.
life experiences, different skill sets.
Yes, coming together for one cause.
Yes, yes.
So when I resigned from that, I could not deal with the politics that they were attaching to my skin color.
Right.
My skin color is not a political issue.
Right.
I am a resident, I'm a Canadian, I am a human being, and we have a voice. And if you're going to tell me to not speak unless you approve it or it sounds the way you want it to sound, then you're keeping me in a box, and now I'm fighting the same issue that we should be fixing.
Right.
Because racism and discrimination happens when we're already taking people's voice from them, keeping them in a box that they need to sound like you, be like you, speak like you, and look like you, and also where there's no freedom.
That's
and
right.
I think that's what we need. We need that freedom, and as long as I was doing it respectfully,
mm-hmm. That's right.
Honor.
That's right.
And it doesn't always going to feel good, Nelia.
And that's okay.
Truth. If it was
that's
okay.
Truth. Yeah.
If it was
and
truth,
we don't learn and we cannot change without being uncomfortable. And I think when people say, and throughout my lifetime, I have been told I've made people uncomfortable, and I'm okay. I take that as a huge compliment, because My intent is always of honor and respect and to educate and bring awareness both ways. I don't have all the answers. I know what I want my world to look
Yes.
like, and
Yes.
that's how I am going to conduct myself. Whether I
Um,
make you uncomfortable
or
or whether
not.
I don't, you need
Yes.
to ask yourself, why is this person making
Making me
me
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable?
Wow.
Is she saying something that
Hit a
is
nerve.
totally
Yes.
wrong, and that's what's making me uncomfortable? Or is she saying something that I know I've done, or I've participated, or I haven't thought of it in that way? And that's the beauty of community and sharing our experiences, because chances are you are going to find someone who may not necessarily look like you, speak like you,
Mhm.
that has the exact same experience. And you wouldn't expect it
Yes.
because you're uncomfortable sharing. You don't want to be looked at. There's some shame, and again, and that fear, right? And we all know fear is never a positive thing.
This fruit fly is really bothering me, Nelia. My banana is looking at me right over there, and this fruit fly is just.
No, it's great, but it's funny. But like you said, when they set it up for failure,
Yeah.
right? In
Yeah.
the
They
film,
do. They do.
in the film you hear that, right? He's
Yeah.
already set up for failure. Those
Yeah.
schools are, it's again, you look at it, it's the history. As children, that's when we learn who we are.
Yes.
That's where we find our tools to protect ourselves, to defend ourselves. And again, one of the biggest challenges in growing up is that we need to adjust those tools we use to protect ourselves or defend ourselves, because they need to grow with us. And many times what happens is we're doing the same things as a 10-year-old as we are as a 20, 30-year-old, and they don't work anymore. But
Yeah.
that's how we learned, right? And
Yeah.
as we develop and get uncomfortable and educate ourselves and believe in ourselves,
Mhm.
that's where you start to grow and develop.
If you're just tuning in and watching us, I'm with the amazing Nelia from the Aurora Film Circuit, and just really talking on Emancipation Day and the movie that we've watched called Small Acts. We're looking at episode number 5 about education, where we know I can't remember what is it Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King says about education. There's a quote, you can find it about education. Change comes with us being educating ourselves.
Mhm.
Ignorance is no longer an excuse.
Absolutely.
And you know what, Nelia, Shauna White, I miss that woman so much. She said recently in a conversation that I just forgot what she said, but that we can't miss the opportunity. Yes, Google. We want to be the Aurora Black Community Association. Want to be your Google. You will never be told by one of us that Black people are tired to educate you. Go to Google. No,
Mhm.
there's always a place to learn. It's never too late to ask. It's never too late to come on board on the journey of unity and love and
Yeah,
growth. And so
absolutely.
if somebody knocks on my door and said, "Tell me," we might not know everything, but let's go find out together.
Yes. And also it's with our children, right? Our children, like you were saying, is that happening today still? Are parents plugged in, right? When our children see they mimic us, right? They
Yes.
watch what we do, right? They listen to us, especially when we think they're not listening to us, is when we have to be on our best behavior, so to speak, and understand, because they are, children idolize their parents, whether they communicate it or not, right? I mean, we all want acceptance from our parents. I don't care how old you are. It's
Yeah.
always, that kind of level. So, I mean, how beautiful is it to see, children watching their parents fighting for them, to show how important they are to them. And it's also showing parents, showing that, parents showing children, it's all our lives, right? You
Yeah.
don't add, you don't speak up, and it's, for me, it has been a lifetime of
Mhm.
speaking up. And the day I stopped speaking is my day to say goodbye. And because
And it's
it's
not
so
happening anytime
no,
soon.
and because it's so important it's not something you just do for a period of time. Like I've
No,
shared with you, to me, advocacy is one of the loneliest places to
yeah,
sit, right?
yes. Wow. Hashtag that, Nelia. I- It is because, like I said before, if you're worrying about being liked, you're in trouble. Nelia, in Jamaica, I've been back almost every year. And what I realized, there's less and less parenting happening. When I look around to the circle that I'm in, there's less and less parenting happening, where children are still kind of just raising themselves.
Right.
Then we have the social media and everything that kind of just
Yes.
raising our children. And I can't, my son is 20, Nelia, my other one is 10. I don't know what they're going to become, but God knows that every prayer and everything I have been invested, and the platform has been laid for them to be excellent.
Right.
They're choosing to not be excellent is on them.
That's right.
But it would not be because I shut them down when they have a question. I shut them down when recently AJ quit from his job because he said the manager that oversees him was very disrespectful and rude. I gave him all the channels of the resources to say, this is how you go about it. This is what you do. If it can't work, it just can't work. But
Right.
never let money be the
Yes.
reason why you're
Listen,
abused, you're
that's right.
tolerating disrespect, and you're not freeing yourself. We've been slaved and we're free. Then we're acting like slaves.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
start acting in the freedom of the independence, not with arrogance,
Right.
not with
That's right.
disrespect, using wisdom. But you have to know your rights and know where you stand and where you want to be. And
That's
when I
right.
look at Kinsley in this movie, when he got the right attention, and the moment his parents acknowledge that, oh, yes, there's a problem, right
Mm-hmm.
away, look at the success at the end of that
At the
movie.
boy. Yes. Yes. But that's exactly it. But the success came from the community,
Yes, the
right?
community came out, have a forum,
That's
everybody
right.
come together,
That's
speaking
right.
up. Sometimes you have to be the guinea pig where you're speaking first,
That's right.
and unfortunately, you're the rookie. You're
Yeah.
the guinea
Yeah.
pig.
Yeah.
But you watch. There's a quote by Marianne Williamson says, "As you liberate yourself, you unconsciously give others the permission to do the same."
That's right. That's right.
So
Yeah. And it's and I shared it with you. I love the Maya Angelou, right? Allyship is
yeah,
very complicated, but none of us are free until all of
until
us are
all
free.
of us are free.
And I think that's what people need to remember. For me to have the freedom that exists today for me, Nelia, it wasn't created by me. It was created by so many people. And I just want to continue what those people offered me. And and again, in doing that with our children, again, because so now we know their generation and their children will have a stronger parent, a stronger identity, and a stronger voice. And with Kinsley, that's what I found. Until he felt supported,
Yes,
right, and
yes,
until he felt heard,
yes.
nothing was going to change for him, right?
There is a loneliness in not feeling supported and
Yes.
heard. There
Yes.
was something I was listening to today that was talking about a mayor who really engage with the community and build support and volunteer and build a community that was dealing with a lot of a breakout of drugs and whatever in the states. And when I look at it, Nelia, I realize that as a community we can all do better.
Yes.
As a nobody like myself, if we can put together and bring on people and people ready to talk and share, that means my leader, who are the
That's right.
somebodies, should be able to
That's
do
right.
greater. And
That's right.
so it is not unfair for us to have high expectations for leaders.
Absolutely not.
And
Absolutely not. Because
yeah,
the word leader, that's a tremendous amount of responsibility.
yes, yes,
And it's not just about the paycheck
yes,
or the social media,
yes,
the awe, the love, and all that. There is a huge responsibility when you want to choose to be a leader or to lead a community or to represent.
and
And
it's like parenting. because it's
Absolutely.
evolving and you have to be ready to be receptive, to listen. And a lot of times what I realize now, Nelia, like we've seen in the movies with Miss Virginia, leaders take your criticism personally.
Hmm. Hmm.
They don't take it and reflect on it as this person's criticizing this process that we have and that's not working. They're
Hmm.
criticizing me, Tom Jones. When in
Yes,
reality, Tom Jones, I used to work for Scotiabank and I've shared this all the time. When a client came and they're upset and lashing at me because the check was this or the check was that or something didn't happen, I am the face of Scotiabank.
that's right. That's
So
right.
I can't think they're attacking me.
That's
I
right.
have to say, you know what, sweetheart, I appreciate your frustration. I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
Let me look into this for you.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't say, hey, you're talking to me and I'm black and you don't like. No, 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 no.
No,
It's not about me.
no.
And so when we can remember that it's not about us and it's not always about us, then we'll be able to hear.
Right. Because as leaders, you have a platform, right? You run on a platform, right? That platform isn't, do you like me?
That's right.
Right? That platform is based on concrete issues in our community that the community wants to see change. We've come in as a consensus and we've identified, right? And then we find leaders who have either the same mindset or the
Mhm,
same belief or believe in what we feel is necessary to change. That's
mhm,
the platform that you run on.
mhm.
So it's not about your ego and it's
Yeah.
not about being liked and all that kind of other information. You're there to represent the people in your community.
There's a
So,
quote right below you that running. It says it was
yeah.
by Malala. I love that. The movie was painful to watch.
Hmm.
But it says, when the world is silent, even
Even one,
one
yeah,
voice become powerful.
absolutely. And I
And
think we underestimate that one voice, right? We
yes,
really, really underestimate that one
yes,
voice.
yes, one voice can become powerful. Whether the voice
Absolutely.
is black, pink, white,
It's
nervous,
irrelevant.
little, loud,
Yeah,
it's irrelevant.
it's
When
irrelevant.
the world is silent, even one voice. So can you imagine if everybody look at themselves at the one voice? The crowd we would
That
have
we
of
would
people
have.
that are doing their part to work on
Yes.
community
Hmm.
and keeping leaders accountable and
Hmm.
also not blaming leaders for what we are not doing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we have to show up and being a part of it
Yes.
because our leaders are also people
Yes. Yes.
with
I
with
think
their
one of the
people.
most, yeah.
They don't know everything.
No, because one of the most difficult things is when you hear someone say, "Well, that's not my, that's not my problem."
Yes. Isn't that sad?
Yes,
Well,
because
Nelia.
you're not, because it's being present, right? It's about being present, being aware, and understanding. It's understanding that it's not about you, right?
Mhm.
It's bigger than that,
Yes.
right? It is bigger than that. It is our society, it's our
Mhm.
community, and I think that's really, really important. And that's what I always struggle with. Everyone
Mhm.
has a voice.
Yes.
It may not, sometimes it's not necessarily what I may believe in, but doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's what we need to listen. Exactly what you said. We need to listen, not be ready to talk when the person hasn't even finished telling you what they want you to listen to, right? And it's okay. It's like I like part like one of the in the movie, the director he has a tendency where he keeps the camera on an image for a long time,
Mhm.
and even and I love film, and even through this I thought sometimes, okay,
Move it
that's
on.
long enough, let's move it along. But
But there's
he's
a
doing it.
point.
Yes,
Intentional.
there's an intention,
Yes.
because he and and I've read enough about him and listened to his interviews, and he does it, and it's purposely done. He wants to make you uncomfortable where you want to look away.
Mhm.
However, if you stay, you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah.
So just stay in your uncomfort, because there is a prize at the end of it.
Oh, that is so powerful. Nelia, as we wrap up, because I can't believe it's already 50 minutes since we've been talking. Um, Nelia, it is really just a conversation we're having as a person.
Absolutely.
And I really just want to challenge the community, the people, to do their part. Nelia, it's very easy for us to point finger. It's very easy. I always say I'm very shy, but nobody would know that. They're like, you? I'm like, yeah, you messed with me on the wrong topic, and I'm not going to try. But I am not the, oh, let me go out there and find a who I can socialize with. I'm not. But
Mhm.
yet I'm very sociable. I can't explain it.
Mhm.
But Nelia, it would be a disgrace for me to keep using that as an excuse why I can't do something,
Yes.
why I
Yes.
can't try. And I raise my kids the same way. I don't want to hear that you can't do it until you've tried and it didn't
That's
work.
right.
Don't tell me you can't do it.
Yes, that's right.
What would I tell myself? And so, community, as I challenge you, we are we are responsible for the community that we build and live
Yes.
into. Not our
Yes.
leaders. Our leaders are there and they're supposed to be held accountable, but we
Yes.
cannot sit back and
And
say
allow it and
and
be
allow
okay with it. Yes,
it.
that it's not my problem.
We can't say
Because
it's not my
it is
it
my
is.
problem.
It is.
Yeah.
It is mine, yours, ours.
Yes.
And I will want to encourage the Black community, the Black people within the community, this message in particular, Nelia. Let's show up.
Absolutely.
Nelia, often because Aurora is a dominantly white community, or was, it's getting better. We know that most things that we would like is not here, or it doesn't happen frequently enough. But I should not only show up for Black events. There shouldn't be anything called Black event. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
should show up for events
Hmm.
because it would be too segregated for me to be showing up because it's a white singer today or a Black singer. Show up because it's community and it's
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
And that's
And
how
it's just,
we
yeah.
grow. It's an opportunity to
Yeah.
meet somebody and learn and grow.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's amazing when you start having conversations with the people beside you, how much more we have in common than we have opposite.
Yes.
And again, because again, in all, we are all, we live, we have the same, we're born, we live our existence. We hope we leave a legacy of goodness, of honesty. And that's what I want, right? If my leaders aren't going to work for me, I'm going to work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important to me, to know that I'm working for myself and making a difference. And it's not, and when I say for myself, it's for my community.
Yeah.
It is for my community.
I thank
But
you so
yeah,
much.
no, thank you.
This
Thank
is
you.
this is awesome.
Because it's always so important. Like I said, I don't want people to shy away, like you said, because it makes them uncomfortable. It's
Mhm.
okay. You'll
Yeah.
get comfortable. You'll get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
When the world is silent, one voice
Absolutely.
can become powerful. Be that one voice. And I am honored to serve the Aurora Black community, to serve the entire Aurora. And again, I just want to emphasize that it is called the Aurora Black community, but it's a multicultural association for everybody who believes in unity, who wants to share food and culture and music
Yeah,
and really get
it's humanity.
it's yeah. Anybody who believes in humanity, then
Come
that's what
on in.
yeah, that's what the black or Black community is about. And we want to, however, it's from the platform of Black voices where we want to give space to those voices, obviously, that's of long been over silenced.
That's right.
And
Absolutely.
we're giving a platform for those businesses that have never been around or been heard of, or opportunities, employment, your voice.
Just yeah,
Just
there's so
you
much. Yeah.
just so much to do together. And
Mhm.
so I'm looking forward to having all these conversations. We've been doing it now from last year and it's been amazing. I know we slack off here and there, but sometimes we keep it fresh.
Absolutely.
I think this is
Absolutely.
nice to have a break. Other things are happening. We were talking about Indigenous family recently, so other things are happening in between. But if you visit the Aurora Black Community website, I think it's aurorablackcommunity.com, or Facebook group, people can get to learn more and get involved and also see movies that we have discussed previously with Nelia over the time. There's so many that we have done already. And so we encourage you to go watch the series of the small acts and come on and have some comments below. Ask questions. I'll follow up and pass them on to Nelia if I can answer them. But it is a great opportunity to have this conversation, Nelia. And I hope that we are. I always say to someone who from a business who say, I don't get any likes on my business post. I said, never worry about the likes. Just know that somebody sees it.
That's
And
right.
even if it's one eye, many clients come into Coconut Village Spa, Nelly, and say, I knew I saw you on something somewhere sometime. And I just finally found you and finally get to come. Our job is to put the information there.
That's right.
And our job is to be accessible and available
And a safe place.
in a safe place. And that's what this is. A
That's
safe
right.
place to always ask questions, to talk about
That's right.
unity, to talk about love, to tell us what your experience has been in your region or in even Aurora, where our leaders know that they should be able to call on us and say, tell us the truth.
That's
Tell
right.
us the hard truth and how can we really
Yeah.
work together.
And it's like the movie and the series, right? If you are the big tree, we are the small axe.
Power.
And that's it, right? I mean, because we're always going to have big trees. We will always, always have big trees in our lifetime.
Back home in Jamaica, them say, this is Patois now. Small axe fall, big trees.
And
So,
it's
right, it's not really that size, but that consistent chipping
It's-
away at the issue.
yeah, it's
Not
the imagery.
giving up.
It's the imagery. We don't come in with a saw, an electric.
And it's
It
done.
is. We're constantly. It's a
Chipping
constant
away.
because it is. It's a process.
Mhm.
It's a process. But when it clicks,
It clicks.
it clicks.
Well, I thank you and I love you so much. And I thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community. I just I love it. It's
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank you.
Thank
It's
thank you for letting me be part of it.
Oh, you're always a part of it until you quit on it. You're always a part of it. I just want to say thanks again and thank you all for watching and for commenting and for sharing. We appreciate you again. This was a series brought to you by the Aurora Black community with our amazing Nelia from the Aurora Film Circuit. She's doing an amazing thing, loves movie. And if you ever want to hear about movie or have a questions, you better reach out to Nelia from the Aurora Film Circuit. We thank you so much.
No,
And we're
thank
looking
you.
forward to connecting with everybody else soon. So without further ado, bye, Aurora.
Bye
Hi,
bye.
Coconut Village. Happy Jamaican Independence Day to the Caribbean. Happy Emancipation Day to everybody. Keep freeing your mind from slavery, like Bob Marley would say. And we'll love you. Catch the replay, and we'll talk to you soon. Have an amazing day, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.